trust me, I'm fairly comfortable around wasps. I'm not fairly comfortable around hornets and nasty brutes.
Grief. So you're looking at like those early horror movies, Attack of the Killer Bees, but it's actually the Attack of the Killer Wasps.
If you have a nest on your property, that's a problem. At the moment, you're sitting eating your sandwiches in the park and a common wasp comes to visit and you wave your hands around, that's kind of fine. When a yellow-leg hornet comes, don't wave your hands, just pack up and go home, I reckon.
Nā mihi kia koutou katoa, no mai haere mai. Welcome to Under the Lens today. I'm Nick Waipara. We're going to have a bit of a kōrero about the bio, aren't we, Amanda and Peter? About biosecurity, biodiversity, biocontrol, and more importantly, bioprotection, Aotearoa. I guess one of the things that the kōrero has to be today, following on from last week's podcast, was really to have some dives down into what those bios mean, because there's a lot of bio. And I guess I was going to explore with you both some of how did we come to be a biosecurity country. Aotearoa is well known throughout the globe for its biosecurity system. So a bit of the whakapapa, or the origin of it. Why do we do it? Where do we do it? How do we do it? Who does it? And how does it interrelate with bioprotection, Aotearoa, and biodiversity and the other bios? So I guess that was a bit of the kōrero today. Amanda, how do you think biosecurity fits under the mantra of bioprotection, Aotearoa?
Thanks, Nick. Oh, gosh. So, I mean, we get asked this question a lot because bioprotection gets confused with biosecurity. And biosecurity is really the operationalisation, I've got to think about that word, of a legal document, the Biosecurity Act. And biosecurity does fit under what we do at bioprotection. But I think I saw, there was a post that another friend did, our mutual friend at Te Tere Whakamataki, and I thought it was a very good description, trying to tease apart what is biosecurity and biodiversity, because those things are, again, intertwined. And as far from my perspective, it actually comes under the umbrella of bioprotection. But biosecurity helps protect our biodiversity. And our biodiversity is critical. It underpins a lot of our economy, I suppose. And bioprotection comes in and it really adds the human element, the training, the capability development, that sort of intergenerational lens of protecting our productive ecosystems, our landscapes. And so I see biosecurity as coming in under that. And it's very much how you protect what we have. And they do that, and it's defined through a legal system.
Yeah, so like what we term as the Biosecurity Act, which actually is it's legislation put through by Parliament. So we actually have an act, a legislation which all biosecurity actually hangs on. So that gives it the mana or the status or the regulatory arm of the laws of biosecurity for the country. So I guess, yeah, it all does stem from that act, really, doesn't it? Although our research and how we do it and who does it isn't defined by an act, but it's just about, gives you that power, doesn't it?
But it's interesting because I don't have it on me the exact year that it came into play, but according to that year, anything that existed in New Zealand, it was already here. And so everything other than that is an unwanted organism, and we have to be, we have to go through the permit process. So, later on we talk about, some of the incursions that we'll do a deep dive into. It's like they came in after that act, I guess, came into power. And so it's interesting that we probably had biosecurity issues prior to that date, but it's such a weird cutoff date.
Yeah, it's a sort of an arbitrary before and after, and it was like TLC. It was the 1990s, so a lot happened then. Peter, what do you think about biosecurity in terms of how you read it, in terms of what research you do, or just how you are as a tax-paying New Zealander? What do you think about biosecurity and how it interrelates with even the work you do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we all see biosecurity when we fly into Auckland Airport and somebody snaps on the rubber gloves and says, "Okay, what have you got?"
With a stern face.
With a stern face, or clean your boots because you've been walking somewhere. And I guess it's this attempt to keep stuff we don't want out. And I think that's really important. New Zealand is a really weird place in terms of its biology, and we know that bringing things willy-nilly over to New Zealand and releasing them is a really bad idea. So, I mean, rabbits and all the other things that cause havoc here. So that's why I think it's a really sensible thing for us to say, well, let's see if in the face of globalization and massive trade and planes come in all the time, can we keep out these things that we don't really want, which might be human diseases, or they might be new organisms, or they might be compounds or products that actually might damage our economy. And so I think that's a really good thing to do. It's really important. It's also hideously expensive, right? It's really, really expensive. And the consequences of getting it wrong could be catastrophic. And so I think the research that we do really backs up that biosecurity system. It's about, can we invent new ways of controlling our borders in a sensible way so that it's cheaper, more effective, and less damaging when it goes wrong? And that's, I think, we desperately need research in that space, because we need to be... The number of pests and diseases we're getting increases year upon year. The number of insects that come into the country unexpectedly goes up year upon year. We're going to need new tools, and that's where the research comes in.
Kia ora, because that's how I see it. And the politicians and people making decisions about the Treasury, making decisions about where taxpayer dollars go and are spent, happens in the biosecurity space. So obviously the Ministry of Primary Industries, Biosecurity New Zealand, can't financially go after every single pest that's already in the country, let alone coming into the country. So there's that whole risk assessment, I suppose, about what we do and where we do it. And we're thinking about the successful eradications like the Queensland fruit flies, and they've been here several times and they've been successfully eradicated. But currently we've got one that's also, how it's flown in or hitched in, is the ugly hornet. Funnily enough, we're going into the hornet and eradicating hornet if we can. And that's currently underway right now in Tamaki Makaurau. Any comments on what you think the hornet response should or could be doing?
It's probably for Peter to actually really comment on that. And I can talk to, both Alex, Nick and I, your experience, with the Kodi dieback and the myrtle rust and PSA, so, kiwifruit, vine disease as well. And I think, and Mycoplasma bovis, they're all big problems. And how they've, I guess, been approached and what's being done. There is a pattern to all this, and I think we need to unpack this, and some of our research has supported, here's some situations where we can have some solutions to either surveillance or diagnostics or even biocontrol methods. But in terms of when it comes to insects, that's Peter's world. So
my world of insects. I think so. The hornets are a social species of wasp, and this country has no social species of wasps that are native, and we know what's going to happen because we've imported quite a lot of social species of wasps. So the common wasp and the German wasp, which are the things that attacked you when you tried to open up your sandwiches at school. Those things came into the country, one in the 1930s, one a bit later. They are now the largest populations of common and German wasps in the world are in New Zealand. They cause over $130 million of problems a year. That includes $1 million worth of car accidents caused by people freaking out when a wasp comes through the window. Hornets are bigger social wasps, and so if you look at the common and German wasps, about half of I can't remember what the numbers are. Maybe I think it's 10%, maybe 10%, maybe 20% of all beehives in the North Island die because of wasp attack.
Good grief!
The yellow-legged hornet, which is the thing that's coming in, is a bigger social wasp. It is, I guess. It really focuses on eating honeybees, so it'll be a massive problem for our honey industry. They form nests all the time. And while this has been happening, we've also already let in 2 or 3 other species of paper wasps. So people might be seeing the Chinese and the European paper wasps around the place. They all came into the country in like the 80s and even this century. We can't seem to, once they get into the country, there's no way we can control them. They spread everywhere and they're going to cause problems. So if we don't act to control this hornet that's come in, that's going to be a significant problem. And it's going to be a significant problem for all of us. It's just going to make our lives worse. Trust me, I'm fairly comfortable around wasps. I'm not fairly comfortable around hornets. Nasty
Good
brutes.
grief. So you're looking at like those early horror movies, Attack of the Killer Bees, but it's actually the Attack of the Killer Wasps. Is that
well,
being catastrophe?
Luckily, they're not going to come in massive numbers like the killer bees kind of thing.
I just had this vision of swarms and people running for their lives.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, hornets tend to be kind of solitary. Well, they build nests, but so if you have a nest on your property, and they do nest under the eaves of houses and things, if you have a nest on your property, that's a problem. But basically, if you're at the moment you're sitting eating your sandwiches in the park, and a common wasp comes to visit, and you wave your hands around, that's kind of fine. When a yellow-legged hornet comes, don't wave your hands, just pack up and go home, I reckon.
So can I ask Peter you a question? Because, given that we've got hornets, and it seems to be the latest thing that media have picked up on in biosecurity, and they've pulled out a story from, I think, father and son were fire flocks or some sort of adventure park thing in Southeast Asia. Was it Laos or something? And they were killed by the hornets. Is that likely to? Yeah, no, it was. It was. I saw it. It was like father and son plastered all over the media at the moment. And is this scaremongering, or is this going to happen here?
Well, I think there are different species of hornets.
Yeah.
In Asia, there are particularly nasty hornets. The giant Asian hornet, I think it's called. If you look on YouTube for Chinese hornet control, you'll see the Chinese army being mobilized to destroy hornet nests using a flamethrower. Right, so they're really bad. You'll have also heard in the past few years of those, they call them murder hornets, coming into North America. So that is not what this incursion is, but they're still hornets, they're still problematic, and they're going to be damaging if we get them here. Okay. So part of the problem here is we don't need to say, we're all going to die, the hornets are coming, but it is going to affect our beekeepers. It is going to affect primary production. And, as I said, 2 species of less damaging wasp cause $133 million worth of damage in New Zealand already.
Oh, my gosh.
So the key thing with biosecurity is to stop them at the border. It's a lot. It's just like an infectious disease. Prevention is better than cure.
A bit like what we did for COVID, I guess. Lock it down and those sort of actions which prevent incursion. And a lot of people, you watch the border control programs and it's all a bit of a fun reality, and it's like, oh my goodness, and certain celebrities have an orange they don't know in their bag,
apple,
and then you're trying to get home. Every New Zealander coming back to Aotearoa is already tired, exhausted from coming into the airport, and then you have these fun little beagles, perhaps for some people, but other people think they're annoying and scary. Hashtag cat person if you're a cat person. And then you're tired and you're suddenly going for another queue. And of course, people go, oh, for goodness sake, I could swear and cuss, but not me personally. But you see in some immense, I guess, people feeling like I've already flown on this flight, I'm not a risk. So we get that in terms of that border control. People don't think about also what else is coming into the gateway of Aotearoa through the ports, our big ports down in the port of Tauranga, the biggest import entry point to Aotearoa. And you think, this is biosecurity in action, isn't it?
Yeah.
And speaking of hornets and killer hornets and things like that, we'll be having some notes on that in our show notes. So make sure you refer to the show notes of this episode, because I'm going to move us along a little bit from hornet to first. I thought I'd just give you a little quiz.
Oh no! It's been too long since I did an exam.
Now, because biosecurity is political, I thought, who was the first Minister of Biosecurity? And I was thinking, to give you a clue, of course, the Act came in the 1990s, and so therefore an Act coming into Parliament like that also has a minister, because they've got a department as well. So don't worry, I'm going to be like the Chase or the Chaser or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to give you a multi-choice.
Do we get money?
No, you get the koha or gift is under the table here, and I'm holding it, and I'm going to reveal it next. No, A.
I know. It's first, mind bleach.
Don't mind, Meld. So the first Minister of Biosecurity in the 1990s is A, Nathan Guy, B, Damien O'Connor, C, Marion Hobbs, or D, Simon Upton. Who do you think, A, B, or C? Or D?
Was
I don't
was
think
that
it's,
a hint?
Yeah. So I only started voting in the 90s,
Oh,
the late 90s.
I was doing my PhD in another country.
oh gosh,
So
what does it say
I was
about
only
me?
allowed to vote in the late 90s. So, I don't think it's Nathan Guy. I don't think it's Damien O'Connor. Because-
Currently still in Parliament.
Yeah. I don't think it's Simon Upton.
Oh.
It must be Marion Hobbs. Am I correct? I've only done that because I was around when Nathan Guy and Damien O'Connor were Minister of Biosecurity. We were both on that advisory.
Got to be,
Yes.
got to be a Labor government, isn't it?
Well, I'd like to say, so we've got a vote for Marion Hobbs by Amanda. What do you think, Peter?
I think we're looking. I mean, as I say, I was busy studying in another country, but I reckon it's Marion Hobbs.
Wrong.
Is that your Hornet?
Well, then
noise?
it must be Simon
sorry.
Upton.
Yes, correct. But no, it was Simon Upton. And for those at home who want to fact check, make sure I'm right. I'll also send you again. Well, this was to be the koha that I was holding under the table like a Tamagotchi. If you don't know what that is, look that up too. It is a kiwi fruit. Our blessed leading export commodity from Aotearoa New Zealand. And that's your koha for at least playing the game.
Well, since we both lost, I guess you keep
Yeah,
it.
let's see
I
you
get
eat
to
it.
keep it so I can keep holding it. Now, this is a deliberate segue, because kiwi fruit had one of the most major biosecurity incursions that this country has felt in recent times. We've had many, but of recent times that I'm sure you were both back in the country by then, with a certain horrific plant bacteria, PSAV or Pseudomonas syringae variant actinidae, and it's a virulent form, PSAV. Do you like my pronunciation of that? Which was a plant bacterial disease which came through our biosecurity network or our border control and simply ravaged most kiwi fruit growing regions of Aotearoa, starting in the hub of kiwi fruit land in the wonderful Bay of Plenty. Kia ora to all the growers and pickers and pruners and the communities of the Bay of Plenty, because they had lived and breathed a horrific biosecurity incursion because it decimated and stopped one of our top export crops, and also people's livelihoods, mortgagee sales. It was a hugely horrific incursion, and it also led to a lot of research. So that's the downside. But there were tools, activities, the biosecurity system put into place. KVH, or Kiwi Fruit Vine Health, was initiated with government investment and grower investment. And it really was, I guess, like an internal biosecurity response, because it got through the border. So the border defences failed, and it went into an incursion event, a spread, establishment, and infection of one of our key crops. So that, I think, we've had many, as I said, myrtle rust and other things, but I think this demonstrates bioprotection and bringing it back. Do you think, Amanda, that is somewhere, again, where biosecurity comes in under the umbrella of bioprotection research and the protection of livelihoods, of a crop, of an export, and communities? Just how do you reflect on what the research has provided in this this little baby here that's disease-free and highly edible, highly nutritious, good for one's guts, good for one's skin, good for one's livelihood, and good for one's brain power? There you go, a plug.
Yeah, it's a good plug. And I think the journey about PSA in the kiwi fruit industry, it's kind of one of those classic examples of the Biosecurity Act and all the research that followed on from that. It's a really classic example of that. And, you know, early on when I started to get involved in bioprotection, it was called something else back then, Bioprotection Research Centre, looking for biocontrols or understanding the interactions with PSA and kiwifruit. I think was one of our core research themes anyway. But, you know, coming back to the Biosecurity Act, that was implemented for agriculture only. And so all of our conservation species has kind of just fallen under that. And it seems to be in a grey area. But correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the Governance Industry Association established because of PSA incursion?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that's that whole working together with industry.
So the PSA really kicked off, I guess it tested our Biosecurity Act, and it's also tested our ability as researchers to mobilise and look for solutions around it. And I know that Matt Templeton and Rosie Bradshaw were looking at kind of how the pathogen interacted with the plant, and were there mechanisms around that we could, I guess, utilise to understand how pathogens actually interact with plants as a system, but was there something in that we could learn from, so that next time we had something like that, because there's always a next time, and also because it's a bacteria, things evolve. They're smart, they evolve. Whatever tools we come across or we develop, they tend to evolve around that too. So it's really learning some of that fundamental biology and the interaction there, and what we can get from that when we develop the next tool. But I think we didn't even need to do that because they just imported a resistant variety. Am I correct?
Yeah, there was some. We luckily, as New Zealand, already had a highly active research program in the breeding of different cultivars and selecting different cultivars, hence why we have the famous gold kiwifruit to this day, and recently released the red kiwifruit. There was already a breeding program underway. So there was, luckily for us, there was some resistant germplasm, and it was luck that was there already. And of course, always looking out internationally, because where did this come from was a big question, is how did this happen? It just appeared. That's how it, and you, as you know, bacteria, you can't see them. The first call to help was when vines started to show symptoms of collapse and oozing cankers and things, and necrotic lesions on the stems and leaves was the first sign. But once you see that, it's already too late.
It's too late. And so I guess, what lessons have we learnt from this, and how did it even come into the country?
Yeah. So,
Peter.
Thanks, Amanda. So, I mean, one of the cool things about this is this tells so many stories, and so I might go on at length about this, because I think one of the key things is that this is actually, the kiwifruit is not native to New Zealand, but it is New Zealand that did all the work in the selective breeding to produce a fruit that you can sell, right? So all of that work was done in New Zealand from vines imported from China, as I understand it.
Yes.
That produced a whole load of varieties, and we sold those plants overseas. So they were growing in places like Italy and California, and
Chile,
those places,
Australia,
yeah, exactly. Those are the places that got hit by PSA first. And so we in New Zealand, we sat there going, oh, well, we know this disease is spreading through all these other countries, and that's really probably good and bad for us, right? So our competition's being knocked out, but you know, we're looking at the thing. And then so when it came here, there'd already been a little bit of understanding of what the bacterium was that was causing it and that problem. But what saved us and didn't save those other countries is that we had done all the research in the first place. So we had all of those strains that we developed. People talk about, like, if you breed sheep, there's rare breed associations and things where you've got weird looking sheep, and that's what actually saved us, the people who were keeping those older varieties, because one of those or a couple of those varieties,
So diversity,
had a resistant gene. And so you could then cross that into our crops. That's what saved us in the end. But I also think that's an interim solution, right? As you say, this bacterium is here. It evolves that resistance. We're not sure if it's going to be there forever. And so you also need to say, well, there's a pipeline of research here. At this end, there's let's find something resistant to solve the problem with our industry. But at this end, there's how do we understand how plants and bacteria interact so that we can find novel solutions once this resistance fails, or if other things come in. And that's the thing. I think we need to think that you can't just do this thing. You can't do the last thing, this is the stopgap measure. You also have to start saying, well, this is probably going to be a more general problem. Let's start thinking about how to control these sorts of bacteria and interaction with plants better, and how to keep them out of the country.
That's a key point, because once people say, "Oh, we've got a resistant variety of kiwi fruit, so it's gonna, the problem's gonna go away," it doesn't. And the key thing here is that the problem, so the disease-causing bacteria, it's the bacteria. They evolve, and they evolve at a fast pace. And so understanding the fundamentals around that biology is what keeps us that step ahead to implement biocontrols if we need that. If we run out of, it ends up that we don't have resistant varieties that are able to cope with whatever new strain is coming out there, then some sort of biocontrol is going to have to be implemented.
And you think about Peter Finneran, who's part of the Bioprotection family. He's developing phage that will attack these kinds of... So phage are viruses that affect bacteria. So re-engineering those viruses to attack the bacteria that we want to kill and keep the ones that we like, that's the next generation solution. Right? We've solved this problem for now. There's a stopgap measure, but we should need to develop all those other cool technologies that will help next time this happens. Because it's going to happen again.
And that brings us to that other biocontrol. So you mentioned there's current biocontrols such as the Oreo Gold, which is a form of an Oreo basidium, like a leaf.
They were biscuits.
Well, they're sort of yeast-like things on the filer plane. But talking about that, as you said, bacteria aren't stable.
No.
They evolve with the host. And so thinking you've got these tools for now, as you said, what Peter's doing, Peter Finneran's doing, is also making sure we have tools for the future. Yeah. Because when they evolve, they might evolve away from the control tools we have now. And that's, I think a lot of people think, okay, sussed, move on, and we've got all these complacency, and we can just okay, we don't need to worry. So it's also, once something's here, we still have to worry, don't we?
So I think that's a crucial thing, is we the biosecurity is like this great wall, and we build a wall, and we try and stop stuff coming in. Well, somebody's going to climb the wall. Something's coming over.
Hashtag Hornet.
Yeah, we can't.
Or fly over.
We can't keep everything out, and so we need to. We know there are going to be these incursions, and I think the Hornets are a good example, right? We've had common wasps, we've had German wasps, we had paper wasps, we've got Hornets. So we're doing our best. Those guys on the border are doing their best, but these things come in, and so we need to have the solutions. I think we need the solutions in place before these incursions occur, so that when this Hornet comes over the fence, we go, well, have we got the deal for you, Hornets? You've come to the wrong place. We know how to deal with you. And some of that is what I think is happening at the moment, is surveillance, trying to find the nests, trying to find trapping the adults, trying to work out the relationships between them, seeing how many incursions we've got. But some of it might be, actually, we've got a phage for this particular bacteria, or we've got something for the what's it called, the stink bug that
we need
might
an
come
arsenal,
in.
The brown marmorated stink bug. Yet another one.
Yeah.
Refer to the show notes, everyone. We'll put a link to that.
So coming back to the kiwi fruit example, I mean, right from pre-border to it's here and it's established to tools, I mean, what are the lessons that we learned or should have learned and we're not implementing right now?
Well, to me, thanks, Amanda. To me, I think it's in peacetime, we still have to be vigilant, and we still have to be alert, but not alarmed, as the famous Australian Prime Minister once said. But having communities on board, having iwi on board, having industry on board, so that it's it was a community of 5 million that the COVID response used, but actually Biosecurity New Zealand through MPI had the community of 4.7 million New Zealanders being in the biosecurity system, being the eyes and ears, the watchful ones, as Te Tira Whakamataki would say, the Māori Biosecurity Network, is having people, practitioners, people on the ground, your orchardists, your pickers, your gardeners, aware, so that anything strange is they can see it, they can report it, and to also have those ways that they're highly connected. So it's not just the immediate industry. To me, it's about the surrounding community, the gardeners, iwi, mana whenua, your garden clubs, your whoever, engaged in biosecurity, because we don't have biosecurity officers at every farm gate, as Mycoplasma bovis showed. We don't have the legwork of ministries, whether it be Ministry of Primary Energies itself or DOC or whatever. The people that are doing this are New Zealanders, because we are the biosecurity officers for Aotearoa, for our personal land, for our neighbours' land, for our community's land. To me, that's a really important part of the picture, is because if we don't have early detection, the earlier we can find out about these things, the better.
Get your phone out, people. You're sitting
Yep,
in the
here you
garden
go,
and you
Peter.
see
What?
something unusual,
Yep.
take a picture of it. It's a fantastic place called iNaturalist. You can upload a photo, and there's usually a community of people who will look at that and say, yeah, no worries, that is not a brown marmorated stink bug. Or they might say, oh, yeah, that's really unusual. And often scientists, MPI, other people are looking at that website and going, oh, okay, so there's something unusual going on here. So I've been to a number of places in New Zealand because an iNaturalist person took a photo and said, does anyone know what this is? And I go, yeah, I do know what that is, and we shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
So I do think that, this is, as you say, Nick, this is about all of us working together, and most of us have the tools that we need right in our pockets, so it shouldn't be hard.
So go to your app store, download iNaturalist, and go for it.
Yeah.
I think as a researcher, from my perspective, looking at this, is like, first of all, how did it even get in the country, right? Is that something that we can learn from and not repeat the mistake? Because once something's here, it's established. And once it's established, there's virtually very little we can do about it. And so we're like the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. And I'd like to not be the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. And I think we do need an arsenal of weapons because these things are, as we've talked about, these are constantly coming in the country, and Border do as best they can. But most of these things come on car parts, right? Or I think the Wasps, they came in Whenuapai, so it was the airbase. They come in on aeroplane parts. They come in on parts no matter what we do. Redbacks are the same. They all hitch a ride on things.
Hitching a ride.
Mostly coming in.
Do we have to avoid all song titles now?
I'm wondering
You
that.
do when Sonata's concerned.
But, I can't filter out every opportunity for Nick to bring up some sort of music link. But I'm just wondering, and it's also mentally, it's hard for people growing food.
Yes.
To worry about this. And so there's very much a human element. I mean, we talk as researchers, like, we can do diagnostics, we do surveillance, and we can develop some tools. If we're all connected and we have better sort of communication pathways, particularly with ministries responsible for this.
MB, for example, the funding of research.
It's not only the funding of research, it's just, ministries are their operation ends, and they're governed by the acts which created them in the first place. But, having sort of better connections, because they don't do research. We do research. We are at the end we can provide that. And so I would like a better connectivity between that, because we put our hands up and we say, we can help you there. And often that I think we don't get a lot of feedback in the system. And I think to have a cohesive biosecurity system, we need to be better connected.
Yeah, and I think that's what you've answered for your own question, is that not just community connectivity, but ministry, researcher, and implementer as well.
I actually think that that's even more subtle than that.
Yeah.
Because as I understand it, the reason PSA came into the country is that we had a problem pollinating kiwifruit because we didn't have enough bees in the country. So bees are always a bit challenging, and bees don't like kiwifruit. And so trying to get your kiwifruit pollinated by bees is a bit tricky.
And they're already suffering from
they're already
wasps
suffering from wasps
and varroa mite even.
Yes, which
so
another
they're
incursion.
already suffering from their own biosecurity incursion. So
So we cleverly solved that problem by finding a technological solution to pollinating kiwifruit, which involved spraying pollen. And so at that point you say, oh, well, then we need more pollen to fertilise our kiwifruit, and unfortunately some of that pollen came in from overseas and seems to... I think that's the route by which it came through. I think there are probably other routes that may have been problematic, but I find it really interesting that what we were doing is looking at these agricultural problems and trying to solve each one individually. We've got a problem with bees. Why have we got a problem with bees? Because we let varroa mite in. Well, okay, so if we don't have enough bees, let's develop a system which allows us to deal with the kiwifruit. All great science, but there's a chain of how do we solve this problem without looking at the bigger question and saying, okay, well, what this leads to is actually pollen coming into the country, and people saying, well, okay, that's a bad idea because we know this disease is overseas.
yes, well, yes, it's that chain reaction thing, and I'm not going to sing, but the
Oh, God. Diana Ross.
no, but it is. You're right,
It is,
Peter,
yeah.
because I really feel that strong bond between ecosystem. And it comes back to like the other bio word, biodiversity. And one of my best bosses in the whole wide world, the Councillor Jack Craw, once told me, we kill so that others may live. But that's something that really really struck me, is that we do... It resonates because we have to have that research and those tools to protect. So that's your bioprotection part, but also to remove or kill or eradicate those harmful organisms that are pestilence against our biodiversity, both native and exotic. So that's where I see that whole resonance between, or linking between, research. But we also have to be proactive, don't you think? We can't be just reactive.
No.
The mahi or the work that Peter Finneran and his team are doing is recognised to be proactive as well and have tools for the future. So that's that other part of not just being static, but being present and moving ahead.
Yeah.
And that also takes visionary around the funders, doesn't it? That have to put faith in that they don't think, hasn't PSA been solved by now? Why are we still getting
It's had its
applications?
Share of the money.
It's had its share. I've heard that about Kori dieback. I've heard that about fruit flies. Oh, they've had their shares, and isn't gorse solved yet? And there's that little mindset that creeps in, not thinking that, hey, that toolbox needs to keep going.
Yeah.
Is that where you were going? Because I just butted in there like a hornet.
That was great, Nick. I mean, I do think that we're always the problem is getting worse because of globalization. I mean, if you think of all the containers of stuff that come into New Zealand every day, how many of those containers do we have the capacity to screen?
Yeah.
And the answer is not many of them.
No.
So we're taking the approach that hopefully we'll pick up something bad.
Yeah.
And that being the case, stuff's going to come through, right? If you check 10 out of 100 containers, there's 90 containers that you haven't checked. We don't have the capacity, we don't have the people, we don't have the money to do that. So
All the beagles.
All the
those
beagles.
Those are little beagles.
I don't
More
think they're
dogs.
sniffing around the
They can't just be they need to be everywhere,
the
really.
poor wee fellas only have small legs, right? They're going to get tired.
Poor wee things, poppity.
It's just lying in front of the fire going, oh, God, another day sniffing stuff. But I think
As long as they're fed.
we need tools, right? There are smart solutions to some of this. And the problem with research and science is that you actually have to put money in and recognize that we're developing solutions, a lot of which won't work, right? A lot of research doesn't produce the thing you need, or it produces other things. We're testing, we're saying, it's again, finding ways that we can't improve biosecurity and finding, the one way that does. So I think that's the problem, is that it's one of those things where we kind of feel like it's okay, and then suddenly something happens. And that something happens in my time, regularly. And we just keep seeing, varroa mite,
I know,
PSA.
and do you end up rolling your eyes? It's like, oh, here we go again. And, if we could just push pause and re-look at the
But we can't
system.
push
I know,
pause.
that the thing is we have to keep going. We're on this horrible treadmill but, it's like it's just like Groundhog Day. It's rinse and repeat. Here's another incursion. We've got the same issue. And it's not that we haven't, and when I say we, I'm talking about the collective we in the country. We haven't known about these things. We do know about these things.
We know what our risks are.
We know what our risks are. So how can we fill those gaps so we have a pipeline? We can, is there a dozen risks overseas to our economy, to our primary sector and to a conservation state? So can we prioritise these? Do we have the surveillance overseas? We have tools now like Gen AI. We have LLMs that we can help predict some of these, right?
I actually think our biosecurity system is actually just delay. We're delaying the latest. So I think brown marmorated stink bug is a really great example. So this thing comes out of Asia somewhere. It's in America. It's in Europe. It's causing problems.
Pestilence, isn't it?
It gets caught at the border in New Zealand quite a lot. So we're getting these incursions. When will it be when it ends up in something in a container and suddenly starts spreading? So I think that we're doing a really good job in delaying its arrival.
Right, yeah.
But I asked the question, why are we delaying its arrival? Well, surely we should be delaying its arrival so that people can develop the tools. And I know that some of that work is going on so that we are pre-prepared. And I think that's what we did with COVID, right? We went, okay, COVID's going to really do huge damage to us. Let's shut it down at the cost of all the things that was a cost of. We killed it. Remarkably, New Zealand killed COVID.
Yes.
And then we waited until we had the tools in place in terms of vaccination so that we could cope when we came back in the country. That's, I think, what our biosecurity system effectively does.
Buying time.
It buys time because once something's established, that's it. You are just monitoring it.
Yeah, we're not good. Eradication is really difficult.
It depends on the ecosystem. It's impossible. You can eradicate certain things, but once it's in, say, a soil ecosystem like Kodi Dieback or murder rust, you've got no hope. I'm sorry.
And I guess that's part of what we do in bioprotection is what are the new technologies that will allow us to eradicate the wasps that are already in the country or to eradicate Kodi Dieback, these things that are wicked ongoing problems. And that's not easy.
Oh, no. And that's, I guess, what, coming back to that original question of what should we be doing? In the so-called peacetime, well, it's not peacetime because we're in Hornet land, but in those times, investment, funding, proactive research, proactive engagement, I think that's keeping that going. And I think, to me personally, I think biosecurity should be in the cabinet in terms of Parliament. That's just personal point of view. It's not outside cabinet at the moment. It's never been outside cabinet till now, but I do think we need the Minister of Biosecurity in cabinet because it's all about our health, it's about our biodiversity, our bioeconomy, it's about everything. So to me, it's as important as those other
There's a huge human cost to it.
Yes.
I think people forget there's actually a real human cost to it.
Kia ora. So those are some of the bio. Do you think we've answered some of those questions that we've posed to ourselves?
So what were the
Bioprotection, biosecurity, so bioprotection, the umbrella, but biosecurity, biodiversity, biocontrol.
We probably haven't touched on biodiversity, but it's also, again, part of what we do and forms the basis of our bioeconomy. But when you ask a person what biodiversity is or means to them, they typically think of jungles, right? Something in the Amazon or lots of different looking plants
or the kōkako.
Yeah, something like so. It's very jungly sort of bush stuff, or the Great Barrier Reef. Something that's got lots of different things. Look, it's very visual, but actually biodiversity is just the amount of different species and things you have. Like the soil, for example, I pulled this out the other day, is like if you grabbed a handful of soil, it would hold more species of microorganisms or more species than, say, above ground. So that's the soil ecosystem itself is highly biodiverse, but you don't see it. You occasionally might see a worm or a mite or something like that, but you don't see the microorganisms that make up that biodiversity. So biodiversity is all around us.
I wish we could see tardigrades.
Yeah, no, Nick. I did
Sorry,
get you that
sorry.
tardigrade. What do you call them? Moss piglets.
Moss
piglets, that's right.
And there's fluffy ones in Japan. I hear you two got to
I
see.
know, I got you a
from
present.
from a vending
From a vending
machine.
machine, we
Amanda
did.
and Peter were at some very highfalutin Japanese conference. Was that right?
Yes.
And there was a bit of biodiversity in a
There was,
vending
and
machine.
it all came in a vending machine.
But no, seriously, as you said, there's trillions of species and all these in the biosphere that we see every day, even in your back garden. But let alone in the ngahere or the bush.
Yeah, and I think because often we talk about biodiversity, it's really important to protect biodiversity, but I don't think people really unpack that term and understand what it means in terms of why it's so important.
But coming back to the Bioprotection Aotearoa, the BA, the umbrella of how does that all fit together? And I think that's why we're doing biosecurity, because it's that biodiversity that we're trying to protect. And crops
and why are we trying to protect
food
it?
And human health and our awa, our water. It's actually protecting everything. It's not just protecting our land. It's our kiwi fruit. It's everything, isn't it?
I mean, I think what saved the kiwi fruit in New Zealand was actually biodiversity. It was the diversity of the kiwi fruit that enabled us to find some strains that were resistant. And that diversity, so farmers try and look after it as much as they can. But much of that biodiversity, which I think is going to be crucial to fight these diseases and to keep us productive, it's in our ecosystems. It's all around us. It's not really managed, and that's why we need to protect it. It's not it would be really nice to see more kokaka around the place. That's great, and we do need to do that. But it's actually much more important than that. The biological solutions for our future that are going to be our new crops, our new ways of dealing with pests and diseases are they're part of our biodiversity at the moment. We don't know they're there. We have to find them. But if we just lose our biodiversity, then those answers, those new tools, those new crops, those new products, we've lost them.
Yeah, they exist for a reason. They provide a very critical function.
I think, personally, I think we've really done a wrap around the bio. But I think that corridor really just shows where you can go in that sort of corridor and journey, both as a researcher, but even for all people in Aotearoa, those journeys in biosecurity and bioprotection and biodiversity, a hang of a lot of people are doing a lot of mahi, whether it's the kaitiaki and the marae, whether it's the grower, whether it's the picker, whether it's the gardener, whether it's the researcher, the student, the rangatahi. Kia ora to all those students out there. All of them are putting together something that contributes to the whole bioprotection. So that's from my summing up and my little Tamaguchi kiwi fruit. But I apparently have to apologise to the people of Ashburton.
Well, I think you should.
Arahamai. My deepest apologies to the people of Ashburton. Kia ora.
They have a wonderful Kmart.
They have a Kmart?
They have a Kmart.
Really?
I know.
How does that happen? In my day, it was like just tumbleweeds.
I don't think you're helping with your apologies to the people.
I wasn't apologising. It was just a sort of my brain. It's like Ashburton has Kmart. And it's less crazy than Riccarton Kmart.
Well, apparently Rolliston's huge. I happened upon Rolliston and I thought, what's this?
Rolliston?
I was at Rollstown.
It is Rollstown. I've been corrected about that name, Rollstown.
Well, I could roll down Rollstown anytime because I'm roly-poly, according to my colleagues.
No, that is an apology to the wonderful people of Ashburton, actually.
Well, before I say mā te wā, I'll see you later, see you around soon, I'd like to thank my co-presenters Amanda and Peter for today's kōrero. Thank you, kia ora, and join us next time for more lovely and inviting kōrero around the next biosecurity incursion that we could talk about is Cody dieback. The big K, Cody, and how we're managing that. Want to give a good shout out to everyone else who's joined us today. Again, look at the show notes for our links to Bioprotection Aotearoa's website and our socials. Join us from there if you'd want, and also get in touch if you want to give us a few questions, feedback, you want to correct my fake news. all commentary is welcome. Kia ora. And crediting the wonderful people at Pod Labs for hosting us and putting up with us and putting up with everything I do and say. Thank you, kia ora. I want to thank Donna Gibson, Team Mana Supplies, and our wonderful producer, Zoha. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ngā mihi nui.